What's that saying? What do they say? When it rains, it shits all over you, something like that.
Welcome, I'm Tony, and I own Black Cactus Woodwork, and I've decided that I would like to share everything that I build with you guys. But in order for me to do that first, I need a work PC. Now, I'm not a PC builder, but I need a PC just for work. So I need a PC to be able to edit these videos. This video you're watching right now is actually edited on this PC right here, believe it or not. Not yet, it's not ready, but it will be. And today, I'm gonna start the journey of showing you guys how I'm gonna turn this early 2000s Gateway PC, which is the same PC that I played on as a kid when I was growing up, and we're gonna turn this into a functional workstation PC. Now I just need it to edit these 1080p videos, manage the business, do my website stuff, and just general daily computer usage. That's what this is being built for. So I'm sure you're thinking, just shut up, dude, and get to the PC build. But before we do that, I do want to say one more thing. This channel is going to be about woodworking, but I wanted to build this PC because I wanted to show people out there that starting a business is hard, but if you have the right mentality, you can do it. There's a lot of components to starting a business that you may have no idea what to do. You just do it. You just got to it's okay to fail. Failing is good because it teaches you what not to do next, okay? So let's go ahead and get started on the build.
Okay, so I'm poor, I'm broke, so I'm doing this as cheaply as possible, okay? We're gonna clean the inside here. We're gonna scrub it down really good, make sure there's no grease or anything like that, and then I am going to use a scratchy pad just to scratch up the surface a little bit to help the paint adhere. And my glasses are falling. Let me just take these off. Okay, so I'm just gonna use Rust-Oleum white paint and primer that I have laying around. It's a damn near full can, so it should do this whole inside of the PC just fine. So we're gonna use that. Same thing, just some clear coat that I have laying around. Maybe a little less than half full, so hopefully it'll get the job done. I'm just going to try not to be such a heavy hand. But that's what we're going with. We're doing this as cheaply as possible. Some of the PC hardware that I bought, I'm using my daughter's old GPU from her PC. I bought a used Ryzen 5700 off of OfferUp in my local area. Got it for 75 bucks, so I really couldn't pass that up. Even though it's on an AM4 platform, I think it's going to be just fine for the 1080p editing that I'm mainly going to do, some light Photoshop. I don't really have plans for this channel to go into 4K for woodworking and be all flashy with I don't know, all the what's it called, like the glows and I don't know. If you watch woodworking videos, I'm sure you understand. I'm gonna try to keep this channel as true to its form as possible. So even though this PC is an ATX, it does not have the same amount of space as a regular PC. So you can see here, I want to keep the drives so it looks as old as possible. But let's go ahead and start prepping this for paint. Now, I'm not going to show you how I'm prepping it just because it's 109 degrees outside today where I live, and my cameras are just going to overheat and die. So I'm going to take this outside, give it a good scrub. Obviously take the hard drive or the disk drives out first, and it has a floppy. Did you guys see that? It's got a floppy drive. That's crazy. Unfortunately, at least for now, I'm not gonna hook them up and make them work, but I want to leave them in there for the aesthetics, and maybe in the future hook them up and get them working. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this cleaned up, and then we can mask off the outside and get going. All right, you guys, real quick. As I was taking out the switches and stuff like that, I found a stamp on the inside. Look at that. What is that? March 29th of 2001. So this case was made in 2001. It's freaking awesome. The other thing that I wanted to mention, so my intake, I have very limited areas for intake. Obviously, I'm going to have exhaust here. I'm going to leave all these open, and we got this vent here that's also going to be exhaust. If I need more exhaust in the future, I'm going to attempt to put one up there. I also may need some more intakes, and if I do, I'm going to do two 120mm fans right down here. Now, this is an ATX case. But I did go with the micro ATX board because I did want that gap down here since I have no room for cable management or anything like that. I wanted the space because I kind of anticipating needing to add more fans down here. So that's why I'm going with the micro ATX. But this is my intake here. I'm going to do a 120 millimeter fan. But I need to determine where I'm going to put it and get that cut out. Now this is just a temporary fan out of one of my other PCs that I'm just using as basically a template. I am going to mount it right there, obviously on the inside. So what I'm going to do right now is I need to trace out where this is because I actually want to just go ahead and cut. I'm going to go ahead and cut this entire thing out instead of just drilling holes because since I have such low airflow to begin with, I want to make sure there's no obstruction for the air. As you can see, the air is just going to come through this little vent there, which I may even alter that vent too. So before I wash it and do all that stuff, I'm going to go ahead, trace this out, cut it out, and get all the sharp edges gone. So there we go. Okay, so I'm an absolute idiot and wasn't paying attention to what I was doing, and I scratched the top. I don't know if it shows up. I'm not a cameraman, but it's scratched. I scratched the shit out of the top. Wasn't paying attention. Set it right down on all the metal shavings that just got off, but that's okay. I was planning on having to repaint the exterior of the case too, but you can see I got my hole set up. Where's the damn fan? So I didn't have all the tools I needed today, so I kind of hacked it up a little bit, but it's okay. I think I'm going to use some stripping and get the stripping to go all the way around, just to keep it from screwing you up. But that's going to sit, boom, just like that. That should work just fine. Spins freely, doesn't hit anything, so I think we're good to go. So now I am, oh, and by the way, I blew up one of my GoPro batteries. Yeah, it's too hot. I do have cooling in my shop. I got a mini split in my shop, but it's still too hot in here, and one of my GoPro batteries just blew up. That thing is done. So, I mean, it didn't really blow up, but you know, the battery is now expanding, and just is what it is, man. Living in the desert. So, all right, now I'm going to go and clean this bad boy. So, we'll be right back. Okay, so we are finally cleaned and completely masked up. So this is what we're working with right here. I masked off the inside here a little bit, just because I don't know, I just don't want overspray on the outside of the PC, you know, unnecessarily. So went ahead and everything is masked up except for this front here. At first I was gonna mask this up and not paint this, but I don't know, I guess I just figured just paint it. Well, I'm gonna get to shaking this for the next 3 years of my life, and we'll get our first coat on. So here we go. I know you probably can't hear me very well, but I'm gonna wear a respirator so I don't die. So if you can't hear me, then one more thing, actually. I need to put some paper down or something. This is where I do all my woodworking and assembly and stuff. I don't want to get paint all over that. So, 1 second. Okay, so it's been about an hour and a half since I've done my second coat. I don't have a whole lot of the clear coat, maybe half a can, so I'm only going to do one coat initially and really only hit the spots that are visible. Like behind the motherboard, if I don't hit that spot, whatever, you don't see it. So we're gonna go ahead and see how far we can make this stretch. All right, so the aerosol or the pressure, whatever the hell was in this can, is gone. There's nothing. It sprayed a little bit, and then I had to spray it upside down. That worked for a couple sprays, and now it's just dead, and I can't get it to clear. The can still has a lot of pressure, but it's super old, so I guess we're gonna put this on hold for now. We'll have to go tomorrow and get a new can, and we'll pick up back where we're leaving, unfortunately. I'm gonna go make some dinner. All right, so had another issue arise. What's that saying? What do they say? When it rains, it shits all over you, something like that. Yeah. So it is. I don't know. It's hard to see. It is wrinkling all over the place, and after doing some scrupulous and extensive research via ChatGPT, come to find out, when you use a Rust-Oleum, you don't want to wait 24 hours before you apply your clear coat. You either apply it within 30 minutes to an hour after you've done your last color coat, or you wait at least 48 hours before you apply your clear coat. It said that 24 hours is about the worst possible time that you could do your clear coat. And, well, I did it 24 hours later. So I guess that's on me for not knowing how to use my materials. So, well, that means now I have to let this sit and dry for at least 3 to 5 days. Sand it down, wet sand it with 400 grit paper, and repaint and clear it properly this time. So yeah, it's a great Sunday. It is now Wednesday, so I let it cure for a couple of days sitting outside in the Arizona heat, but in the shade. I went ahead and picked up another can of paint. This is the flat white. I'm hoping maybe that'll help because it won't have the additives that give it the clear, or the gloss I should say. So we're gonna sand this down with 400, a little piece of 400 grit and a little bit of water bottle, because I don't want to make a big mess. I don't want to take off the masking and hose it all down and do all that nonsense. So we're just going to do it by hand. Not only is it wrinkling, but there's actually, I thought it was textured when I first started spraying it. I'll show you here in just a minute, but it was like the paint was, I don't know, if there was like dry bits or something on the tip, and it was splattering onto the case. So I'm going to go ahead and show you all the imperfections that we're going to sand out, and then we'll put a new fresh coat of the new flat white, and then I'm only going to wait 20 minutes before I apply the clear, because it's even the can, it's a funny thing really. If you read the instructions on the can, it tells you exactly what to do. It's a crazy idea, but it does tell you either do it within an hour or wait at least 48 hours. So I need to go back to school, I guess, and start reading. But it might be a little bit hard to see. I got a flashlight here for you guys, but you can see here, I mean, it just looks like absolute dog doo-doo. And then this is where, oh man, that's hard to see. This is where the like chunks are in the paint. You can kind of see it. They're like the textured looking thing almost, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? You know what I mean. So we're gonna go ahead, and I think what I'm gonna try to do first is like on, there we go. Wow, go to school for camera work. So like right there, in those spots where it's really bad, I think I'm actually just gonna take like a razor blade and try to knock those ridges down first, because I don't want to sit here and sand for all damn day. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started on that, and then we're gonna paint. We are now completely sanded and cleaned once again. I'm gonna go ahead and do 2, maybe 3 light coats with the flat white, and then just jump right into doing the clear coat. I'm gonna wait about 20 minutes after my last white coat and do the clear. So hopefully I don't screw it up this time. All right, painting is done. It turned out pretty good. It was looking great after 2 coats of clear, and then I decided to put a 3rd coat on, and I shouldn't have, because it started wrinkling up over there in the corner again. But overall, I'm very happy with it. See if I can get some light for you guys. So yeah, overall, I think it looks great. It's gonna work just fine. So now I'm gonna go ahead and get the all the masking off, and we'll get started on installing all the components.
All right, so all the PC parts have finally come in. We are ready to start building. I'm super excited. So what I decided to go with here, and keep in mind this is just for 1080p editing, maybe some light gaming if my gaming rig goes down, but we have the Asus B550M that is Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. For the CPU, we have the Ryzen 7 5700, has 8 cores, 12 threads, and I think it's going to work well for what I need to do. Now to cool my CPU, I have gone with the Peerless Assassin 120. Went ahead and got a couple of case fans. We got 2 120mm case fans, one with reverse reverse blades, and a 92 millimeter case fan that is a high performance fan. I'm hoping that'll be enough. If not, I will add more fans. We went with 32 gigabytes of Pinnacle DDR4 RAM, 1 terabyte of Kingston NVMe SSD, some BSFF thermal paste, and I'm gonna try the 850 watt V-True PSU. It's fully modular, which is gonna be key for attempting to do any type of cable management. It is an 80 plus gold rating. Not necessarily the most well-known brand, but they do have a 10-year warranty, so they obviously must be pretty confident in their product. So we're gonna give it a try, and hopefully it doesn't blow my PC up. And for the GPU, I got really lucky. I found a 3060 12 gigabyte PNY GPU for a great deal on OfferUp from a guy that lives near me. I also got a great deal on the CPU, the 5700. I got that for $75 locally as well, which normally it runs around, I think when I looked it was around $150, so I got it at half the price. I'm super stoked about that. I almost went with the 5600 because that one was about 100 or 120, but then I found the 5700 for $75. I couldn't pass that up. Now the 3060, the 12 gigabyte version, brand new, is $300, and I actually got it for $180 from another single dad. That was absolutely incredible that he gave me such a great deal on it. I'm super excited. I was going to throw in the RX 6600 that was from my daughter's PC, mainly because I didn't want to spend any more money, and because it's the ASRock Challenger, the white GPU. Would have looked great in this build. The 3060 that I picked up is black, but I think it's still going to work out okay. If I really feel the need to, I will disassemble it and paint it, but we're going to see how it looks just black first, and we'll go from there. And with that, we are finally ready to start building this thing, man. I'm super excited. Let's go ahead and jump into it.
I bought this little PC hardware kit. Comes with a bunch of different screws and standoffs and things that you need. So I'm going to go ahead and install a couple of standoffs right there, and then that way we can screw the motherboard into the PC case. Alright, well, here's an issue I did not see coming. I don't know if the camera will pick it up, but this is the original standoff from this case. See, the threads are a bit thicker. This is the kit that I bought, and they do not fit properly in the holes. So luckily I did keep all of the original standoffs, so we're going to go ahead and use those instead. And I do have screws that will securely screw into these. So that was an issue I did not see coming. So we're going to go ahead and put these old ones back in and reuse them. Just a little bit of tightening, that's all it needs. Okay, so this is my 92 millimeter silent balance fan, whatever that means, but it is supposed to be high performance. So this is going to be the fan that goes here on the back of the case. So this is an exhaust fan. So what this does is it helps pull air out of the PC case and exhausts it. So there's a regular fan and reverse blade. So this is a regular orientation, meaning because this is RGB, it lights up here on this side. So it's going to sit like this, which is what we want, so we can see the RGB. Now, if we were going to use this as, let's for an example, as an intake, we would, since this is regular orientation, we would have to flip it, and then you lose your RGB and you see the backside of the fan, which is not as nice to look at. So that's where you need reverse blade, so that you can still mount it in this orientation so you can see your RGB, but it would be pulling air in instead of pushing air out. So we are going to go ahead and pre-install our two fans real quick. But you can see this is where I ended up going with the 92 millimeter for the exhaust. I would have preferred a 120 millimeter fan for more airflow, but this PC was designed to have a 92 millimeter fan as exhaust in the back, so we are going to try that first. Like I said, if I do end up needing more intake or exhaust, I will put more intake on the bottom of the PC here, and hopefully maybe have enough room to put an exhaust up here if I need to. But I'm hoping with all these cutouts and open areas that it'll have enough airflow to exhaust the warmer air. Now we're going to install the intake fan. So this right here is exactly what I was just talking about with reverse blade. So I have a reverse airflow design, which just simply means that I can mount it so that you can still see the RGB and it'll be flowing in the right direction. So it's going to spin this way and push the air this way. So we're going to orientate. We're going to install it this way. It's kind of hard to see, huh? So we're going to install it this way so that we can still see the RGB on the inside and it's pulling air in the right direction. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in, and that will be our two fans. So this just goes to show. Now, like I said, I'm not a PC builder per se. I've built 2 PCs in the past. This is my 3rd one. So I get the general idea. I know how to put it together, but I don't necessarily know a whole lot about PCs to optimize them and all that stuff. But there's our intake fan and our exhaust fan. So far, I think that's looking pretty freaking sweet, huh? So now that our intake and exhaust fans are installed, now we can start working on the motherboard again. Before we put the motherboard in the case, I would like to install the RAM. And yeah, I think that's it actually. We're just gonna install the RAM. So actually, we can install our RAM and we can install our SSD before we go ahead and put it in the case. Important part with RAM that I do know is this is a dual channel motherboard, meaning it can take up to 4 RAM sticks. You don't want to mix and match RAM sizes, at least as far as I know. You don't really want to mix and match RAM sizes, and preferably, if you were going to put 4 sticks of RAM in, you preferably want to use the same manufacturer, so the same RAM in general. But you can see here, you got 2 slots that are black, 2 slots that are gray, and every motherboard is going to be slightly different on what the channel setup is, but your motherboard should always come with the manufacturer user guide here. So for my particular board, it says for 2 sticks that you want to put it in A2 and B2. I don't know if you can see that there. So basically, this first one, it's A1, A2, B1, and B2. Okay, so mine says to do, if you're doing 2 sticks, like we are, 2 sticks of 16 gigabyte DDR4, which gives us a total of 32 gigabytes. We want to use A2 and B2. So those are the slots that we're going to use for our RAM. All right, let's go ahead and install our RAM kit. All right, one thing I forgot is you have these tabs here. We're going to go into our gray slots because that's our A2 and our B2. So you want to push those down. Oh, wow. Okay, so my other motherboards, the other 2 motherboards that I've used, both sides actually push out like this did. This one is not made that way. So this side is just fixed. So we are going to, you can see one edge is slightly longer than the other, and you have that little notch in the middle, and you have these little notches down here. You just got to line those up. When you push it in, I just do thumb on both sides, even pressure, straight down. You do not want to twist it like that. You're going to snap your slot, and you don't want to rock it either. So we are just going to slide that down on in like this. And boom, should click right in. Same thing with this one. Slide it into its slot and click. You should hear and feel it click. And then once it's seated properly, these little tabs will flip back up. And that's how you know that your RAM is fully seated properly. Now, we can actually also install our SSD here, our Kingston 1 terabyte SSD. Now, the more expensive SSDs will come with heat sinks. This one did not. So if I find that it is overheating, I will buy a heat sink for it. So you have, at least on my board, every board will be different. Some boards will only have one M.2 slot. Some will have two, like mine here. Some will have three. Some can have four. So generally, and you can consult your manual if you need to, but generally the top slot is going to be your faster slot. So this one, the top slot for my board, takes Gen 4 SSD, which is what I think this is Gen 4. Yeah, PCIe 4. I think. No, let me check. Let me double check. I don't know. So like on my board, the top slot is for Gen 4. The bottom slot is for Gen 3. So we are actually going to go ahead and I'm actually going to install this. So the problem is I do want to get a second SSD that has more terabytes. This is only 1 terabyte and has a faster read and write speed. So I could install this on the top slot and then move it down towards the bottom once I get my new SSD. Or I could just go ahead and install it here, but then I'm essentially compromising the speed. So I'm not sure what I should do. But I think we'll go ahead and we'll just put it in the top slot for now. And same thing here. You see we have this. It's not focusing. We have that little notch right there. So on your NVMe slot, there is a little notch. Typically, they're always going to just go straight like that. And I just realized we need a standoff because the board didn't come with a standoff. So you can see it's up like this. It needs a standoff so that you can screw it down. So there's a little spot right here for a standoff. So we're going to go ahead and take that back out and see if I can find a standoff for that. Oh, you know what? I'm quite dumb. It should have come with the motherboard, I believe. Although I don't know what I did with the little bag. I think it's right over here. There we go. I found it. That's my bad. So this is for the SSD. Comes with two because I have two SSD slots. So I just really have to make sure I don't lose these, especially for the second one. So we are going to go ahead. Let me just verify which. Okay. So the little standoff is actually going to go over here. I did take a break and eat, but I'm still a little bit shaky. All right, and you know what? I'm going to go ahead and install the lower one as well, just so I don't lose it. Now these ones I am just going to hand tighten because they really don't need much more than that. Their sole purpose is just to hold the SSD down. Okay, so now we've got our standoffs in. Go ahead and you'll see this kind of starts off at an angle. It should just very easily go in. And actually, I need to get a smaller screwdriver. Hold on. Okay. So now that I've went and got my little baby screwdriver, because these screws are super small. You do not want to lose these. Let's see if I can do this without dropping it. So we're gonna slightly hold that down. Gonna get that started. And then just a little tight. Do not crank on these stuff, man. Do not crank on any of these PC components. All right, so at this point we have our Ryzen 7 5700 installed. We have our 32 gigabytes of DDR4 RAM and our 1 terabyte Kingston SSD. At this point, some people install the coolers before they put the whole unit in the case, but I am not gonna do that right now, I don't think. I think I'm just gonna test fit everything first and just kind of see. One thing I did not cover and I did not show, which I did off camera before, is because I'm using an AM4 chipset from Ryzen, we have these little red standoffs. You'll get these anytime you get a cooler. It'll come with the red standoffs, or sometimes there'll be blue or black. Most of the time, the blue or black ones are going to be for Intel chips, which would be a completely different motherboard. It'd be a motherboard specifically for Intel chips. But we have AM4, so we're going to use the little red standoffs, bushings, whatever, risers you want to call them. And then these are our cooler plates, our mounting plates, and they literally are stamped AM4. So this is specifically for an AM4 cooler. I have AM5 socket set on my gaming PC, but it actually uses the exact same mounting brackets. So that's, if you're wondering, that's what that is for. So let's go ahead and test fit some stuff. All right, we have test fit the motherboard into the case. I'm not going to install it just yet. I just wanted to verify that everything is going okay so far, because in PC building, I've learned things can go wrong quite rapidly and you have no idea what's going on. So at this point, I think we are going to install the power supply unit, which is going to sit up here. I'm going to install that next, and then after that we will screw the motherboard into place, put the thermal paste on the CPU, install our cooler, install our GPU, and then at that point I think we're done. So let's go ahead and get that PSU installed. So this is our PSU. Went with an all white with a little bit of black. I think that works really well with the Stormtrooper theme that we're going for. Again, I know this isn't necessarily a well-trusted or known brand at this point, but like I said, a 10-year warranty on it. They must feel pretty confident about their product. So I'm gonna give it a shot and hope I don't regret it later on. I'm sure there's some in the comments that are gonna say, yep, you're gonna regret that. I can't believe you bought that power supply. It's one of the worst ones on the market. But you can see this one's kind of cool because it has a eco mode. Do I know what that eco mode does? Of course I don't. No, I'm not quite sure. I haven't really read up on it. I believe it has something to do with limiting the voltage to your fans or something like that for when it's not needed. I don't know. I'll read up on it and I'll let you guys know. But let's go ahead and slap this bad boy on in here. So you can see the original power supply, which I don't have on me right now, but it has these little tabs right there. The original power supply had a small little L bracket that would hold it in place there. But I've already test fit this one before, and it's in there nice and solid with the 4 screws, so I don't think it's going to be much of a problem. So let's try to do this without scratching everything up, like I am pretty well known to do. Scratch things up because I go too fast, because I'm not paying attention to what I'm doing. I'm just trying to get stuff done. Goodness gracious. All right, I'm struggling here. We are struggling with a screw. That's quite embarrassing. Okay, let's try this one. I just need to get one started so that it'll hold it, so I can use both hands to get the rest of them in. There we go. All right, that one started. PSU is installed. In case you're wondering, this is a new screwdriver set that I got from Klein Tools. It's their Blackout series. It was on clearance at, I believe, Lowe's. Lowe's or Home Depot, one of those. But I think they're pretty freaking awesome, huh? Pretty cool. Okay, let's move on. Stop getting sidetracked, dude. Okay, see, you can see the PSU. It is not moving at all. So I think we're gonna be okay. And I'm hoping, because it is fully modular and won't have all those extra cables we don't need, I'm hoping I can maybe secure them up at the top or something, and maybe make a little shield cover or something. I don't know yet. It's going to be a work in progress still. But okay, what do we do next? What are we doing next? All right, let's go ahead and install the motherboard and get going on that. So we have all of our standoffs that are tightened down but not cranked down. We'll go ahead and install our motherboard. So the way I like to do this is each IO shield is going to be slightly different. This one has little prongs that kind of stick out. So I'm going to go ahead and do this end first. Get that lined up as best as I can. That should just slide on in right there, just like that. Okay, now I'm gonna go ahead and get some screws for the motherboard. And like I said, we don't have standoffs in all the right places. I hope that's gonna be okay. I guess we'll find out in the long run, but I'm not going to attempt to drill and tap and do all that stuff for all the standoffs. When you're doing this, when you're like installing your screws and stuff like that, do your best not to slip with your screwdriver or something and scratch up your motherboard, because all these little metal pieces and soldered pieces, you start scratching stuff up and messing up the board, then you could short things out. So there we go. The motherboard is installed, and I think next we are going to do the cooler. Before I forget, the fan orientation is important. So it is going to spin this way, which means it's going to push the air through your radiator. That's what you want. You want your air being pushed through the radiator. So we are going to make sure that our fans are in the right orientation. I'm going to slide this one here in the middle, but before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and put my little clasp on like that, and I pull that down, and then all right, well, let's take this off, and we're gonna see if we can slide this out first. That way we can slide on this clasp, and then put that one on and slap that one on. And so that's the orientation that I'm going with. That way it pulls air, sucks air in this way, pushes it through the first radiator. This fan will help pull the air and push the air through this radiator, which is going to be right in front of the exhaust at the back of the PC, and be exhausted out. So that is what we are going with. All right, well, disregard everything I just did, because I realize if you put this middle fan in first, there's no way to access your mounting bolts. So I'm gonna go ahead and take this back off. I told you I'm not a PC builder. I don't know all this stuff. So we're gonna take this off real quick without bending it. I'm gonna slide this fan out. And then also I gotta figure out how to take, oh, very cool. It's just magnetized. All right, very awesome. So we'll set that to the side. That way now you can see we have access to the bolts that will actually hold it against your CPU. So at this point, we're gonna apply thermal paste to our CPU and install our cooler. All right, we're at the point we can install or apply our thermal paste. There's many different ways to do this. I don't know which one is right or wrong because everybody thinks their way is the right way and everyone else's is the wrong way. So all I'm gonna do is show you how I do it. And that's good enough for me. It's the way I've done it on the other two PCs and I've never had any cooling issues whatsoever. Also, when you buy a CPU cooler, almost always comes with its own little tube of thermal paste. This is Thermalright paste, which is because I bought a Thermalright cooler. Nothing wrong with this paste. I've used it plenty of times. Not plenty of times, I guess once. So I'm gonna go over here lying on YouTube. But I don't want to open a brand new thing because I just recently opened this one. So, which is also Thermalright. Imagine that. See, I told you I've used it. I wasn't lying. How dare you guys. So, I do the spread method. Some people do the little dollops. Some people do lines. Everyone kind of does their own thing, I guess. But I have always spread it. And that seems to work great for me. So that's exactly what I'm doing. So we're going to squeeze out whatever is left in here. I usually do one little line, two little lines, just like that, and then I spread it with my little spreader. I got a little spreader that came with this thermal paste. I believe I got this on Amazon. I can put a link in the description if you'd like, but it comes with a little spreader, and it also comes with, if you're interested and scared, actually, you know what? I just realized that's not, this Thermalright paste is not from here. This is from here. Man, I'm just falling apart in this video. So I just take the little spreader and we're gonna just evenly spread this across our CPU. Don't be afraid of thermal paste because it is non-conductive, but it's great at heat transfer, which is why we use it. So if you get a little bit on the side of your CPU or whatever, it's not going to cause any problems whatsoever. But I do want complete coverage here. I'm struggling. Let's see, do I have a little bit more I can throw on there? Just a little bit more. Just because I'll sleep better at night knowing the whole CPU is covered, because we don't exactly have great airflow in this case to begin with. Boop, boop, and boop. All right, I guess I'm satisfied with that. Now we are going to put on our cooler. Very, very, very important, whether you do an air cooler or an AIO, which is a all-in-one water-cooled unit. Almost always come with a little protective seal on the bottom side. This is what makes contact with the CPU. If you do not remove this and you just install it, your CPU will 100% guarantee overheat. So make sure you peel that off. Is that nice, clean, pretty? Oh my goodness, look how pretty that is. All right, now let me grab my screwdriver in preparation, and we are just going to, we're going to hold these wires out of the way, and slowly set it down onto our bracket until we find our little standoffs, and then get that side started. Get this side started. Okay, I'm having some malfunctions here. It's not wanting to, I'm not finding the standoff for it. There we go. All right. Now we are seated. We are just going to back and forth. Don't fully tighten one side and then fully tighten the other side. You don't want to do that. You want to do a little bit at a time so that you know you're sitting completely flat on your CPU. And then once it tightens, that's really all you need. Boop, just like that. All right, now our cooler is installed. So at this point, we can reinstall our fan. We can reinstall our digital display. And then I think we'll move on to a little bit of the wiring before we install the GPU. So I'm gonna pre-install these clips again. Like so. Slide this down in. Install 1, install 2, and there we are. We are good to go. And because this is a micro ATX case, you can see our fan is sitting right on top of our RAM. That is not cool. I didn't realize that till just now. I hope that is not going to be an issue, but we'll see. I don't know. I may need to get a different cooler. We'll see. Like I said, this is all work in progress. I mean, this is a 2001 case. This case was not designed to hold these components or this hardware. So this is all just a guess for me, guess for you, I guess. We guess. Do you guess? I guess. We're going to start off with wiring up our CPU cooler here. This is our CPU power connector. And if you look down, oh, it's hard to see. If you look down here, you will see we got one and then one right below it. So that's your CPU fan and your CPU option if you have two fans or an extra fan or whatever that needs power. So we are going to use the bottom one to plug in our power, which is this one. And then this is what runs the RGB or the lights for your fan. So I'm going to go ahead and get this one plugged in, get my little tiny baby fingers in there if I can, get that plugged in. We'll plug up the other fans. They're the same deal. All right, well, my phone overheated, so while I was letting that charge a little bit and cool down, I went ahead and you can see here our exhaust fan is connected to our fan board or fan port. We have our RGB. We have our other fan, our front fan. And then this is our USB port that runs our LCD screen or LED, whatever it is. I think it's LCD. And then I ran some of the wires underneath the motherboard just so it looks a little bit better. Those are our two CPU fans connected. And yeah, so at this point, the fans and everything are connected. So now we can go ahead and start running some of the main power wires from the PSU. Perfect example as to why we are using a fully modular PSU. So if we were not using a fully modular PSU, all of these extra wires would just be in a big bundle on the back of the PSU, which we would have to deal with inside of the case. But because we've gone with a fully modular PSU, those are the only ones that we need for this build. Now, if you were to do a more modern build, you would need some more of these cables. Some of these are extra, or doubles I should say. But for our build, we're going to need a PCIe. This is going to power our graphics card. We need our CPU power, so this is going to power our CPU. And then this is our motherboard power. This is our 24-pin motherboard power. So realistically, for this build, these are the only 3 wires that we are going to need to manage. And that's why we went with a fully modular PSU. All right, I'm going to start with the 24-pin. This is our motherboard power. This feature is kind of nice. It comes with these white cable ties, the Velcro cable ties. Actually looks really good. So far I'm happy with the quality, the physical quality. I guess we'll see long term, but that's a pretty big cable we got to manage. So let's go ahead and see what we can do to at least make it look somewhat decent. So we have our, all these should be labeled too. So you can see this PSU, that means it plugs into the back of the supply. This is MB for motherboard. You want to make sure that you get it fully seated into your power supply unit. Go ahead and put our CPU one in. I should have done this first because the CPU one actually goes right on the bottom of the motherboard. They're all labeled on the back of the PSU as well, so it tells you exactly where you need to plug them in. Pretty straightforward. Nice little click. Fully seated. All right, last one is going to be our PCIe cable, which is for our GPU. All right, we've got our 3 big old boys in there. So our CPU is going to get plugged in. It's kind of hard to see. Let's see if there we go, right there. It's always going to get plugged in towards the top of the motherboard. Oh, that's the PCIe. Do not mix and match. Do not mix them up. You do not want to deal with that. Kind of hard to get down in there. A lot of little tiny fingers there. Hear that nice snap. I'll try to figure out what to do with these wires after the fact. All right, we're going to do our 24-pin now, which is always going to be on the side of your motherboard here. That's our 24. That's what we're going to connect to. Just let's make sure we're kind of laying flat. And what I usually do, I don't know, I kind of hold the bottom here as I put it in. Again, you want to make sure you get it fully seated until it clicks in. There we go. I think I heard the click. All right. Looks like that we can probably just tie off like that, I think I might have to make a little cable shield just to kind of hide some of these cables a little bit better. I don't know, we'll see. It will not look too bad. Okay, and this is for our graphics card. I'm going to go ahead and pre-run it down here at the bottom, because this is going to end up coming up, flipping over. We might be able to run it underneath our cooler, in between our cooler and our RAM. All right, just like that. Run it right underneath their cooler. And then it should just go right into our GPU. So I'm gonna go ahead and grab the GPU and we'll get that installed. Now for the GPU, these can be tricky. Some people get a little nervous on doing the GPUs. But what I do, oh, I think I might need to remove a screw. Yep, I need to remove some screws real quick. So, try to get that out of the way. So we're gonna line our notches up into the PCIe slot, which is right here. And it should just click into place. Notice I said should. I don't know what I'm getting stuck on. I think I might be getting stuck on this, so we're gonna remove this real quick. And so these little tabs typically will slide in between the case and the motherboard there. But again, this is an old PC case, so there's not a lot of room. Okay, I see what I was doing wrong here. So on this side here is the little, just like the RAM, little lever, basically. You gotta slot this into the lever and then push it down that way. That's what I was doing wrong. All right, we are fully seated now. Let's see if I can get this back in there. Do apologize that I can't just sit here and teach you all kinds of computer stuff, because frankly, I don't know it all. I don't know much at all. I know how to build them. I don't know really how they work. Guess that doesn't look super bad. I don't love it. I definitely do not love it, but it could be worse. I don't love it. I'm gonna fix that real quick and go from there. All right, I think we are done. Did the best cable management I could down below. There's really not much I can do. I may build some sort of cover, or I don't know, or I may just leave it. I may just say screw it, but kind of nice that all the extra cables has its own little cubby up there, I guess. You know, it doesn't look too bad. You know, Stormtrooper theme build, black and white. I might paint that graphics card white. I don't know. We'll see. But one thing I am super glad is I'm really glad that this came with 2 sets of CPU cables. It's actually for, I mean, it's an 850 watt power supply. It's overkill for this system. That's why it comes with 2. But I don't need it, and I'm super glad, because look at that. When I was putting in the drives, these old school drives, it got pinched in the back. I couldn't see it. It got pinched, and it cut right through. So I am really glad that there were 2 CPU cables in here. So I think we're good to go. I mean, all that's left now is to fire it up and see if it works. Here we go.